Is it possible to put into this one video everything that's wrong with Bernie Sanders? I'm going to try. Bernie Sanders, when he was in high school and college, saying that he was unattractive is an understatement. The fact that he couldn't get girls and he was sexually frustrated to the point where I think it drove him mad. That's why we find these articles on the internet, and better people than I have discussed some of the things that he's written in these articles. He wrote a bunch of Marxist articles praising communism. He did that on a regular basis because that's near and dear to his heart. And then he wrote also a bunch of articles on sex in weird, perverted sexual experiences. Probably he's psychologically working out his own problems, thinking that people out there secretly all think like him. Well, there is a segment of the population that does think like him. So, in that regard, he wrote many things that are so disturbing I don't even want to say what he wrote. But let's just say they were near and dear to a different organ, not his heart. He wrote once, "There's a massive sea of tits out there. I just want to dive in and have every one of them." Okay, he's no Pete Buttigieg. Okay, no Pete Buttigieg. We know where he stands sexually at that. And then he says things like, why is it when you see an article on a newsstand where 14 men gang rape a 12-year-old girl? Why is that so interesting? No. Normal people are not interested in it or attracted to it or turned on by it. It's horrible. We're shocked. This is the man that wants to sit in the Oval Office, whose mind, I believe, is being influenced a great deal by the Squad. However, the Squad is supposed to be connected to the Me Too movement, yet the things that Bernie wrote are the antithesis of the Me Too movement. They should be angry at him. They should turn around and walk away. And I wonder, now, why is it? And there's more. There's so much more that I'm going to be telling you. Why is it that AOC and the Squad, other than a very, very low IQ, why is it, do you think, that they have backed him? It is the motto of all socialists, of all Marxists, of communism. By any means, you get to the end, which is communism, because that's what socialism is, the United Soviet Socialist Republic. Nazi meant National Socialist Workers' Party. All communism, all socialism. Okay, so the end justifies the means. So they see that he is, the following and the passion is growing for Bernie, and he was cheated in the last election, so they're following him. Last time he was running, he said, look, you have to have closed borders because you can't have this free healthcare, free college, all this free stuff if you have your borders open. You can't do it, which I don't think he's the brightest light bulb that has ever walked this planet, but he did know the basics at that point. There's no way that we can open our borders to the world. Because tell me, AOC, tell me, where are we going to get the doctors and the hospitals? Is the entire country supposed to be built up with hospitals and luxury hotels? And where are we going to get all the doctors? And where are we going to pump out all the sewage and all the waste and the waste from the hospitals? How are we going to do that? Just make people do? Pol Pot did that. I think Pol Pot did this. He told and this is communistic. He said to the surgeons, you go down to the basement. You're going to be washing laundry. And the women in the basement, you're going to go up there and be surgeons. And if you don't do it, you're going to be shot. Well, a lot of them were shot. And anyone who needed surgery and got on that table were sure they were going to die. So are you going to do like what Pol Pot did and just make people doctors? Just, here's your degree. Now you be a doctor. And pharmaceutical companies, you're not going to get paid to make any advancements in pharmacology or any technical advances as far as medical machines like MRIs and CAT scans, all that stuff that we have now. There will be no more progress. So you've got these people behind Bernie. And Bernie now says, no, you got to open up the border. You have to give health care to everyone because it's immoral if you don't. So you just open up the border and everyone in the whole world comes here, because we used to have the best health care. Now it is declining, and it's going to really decline. It's going to be like Soviet Russia, where the doctor comes when he does come. He has some kind of knife. He's got a pokey thing. He's got a bottle of vodka, which is for you, not for him, for you. And then after he's through cutting, he rips up your sheets and ties a tourniquet. And if you live, that's just the crapshoot. It's like getting 777 in, what do you call it? The arcade. I don't know. I don't gamble. Things come up 7-7. It rarely ever happens that you get a payout. But if you live after you've enjoyed the glories of communist, socialist healthcare, you're one of the lucky ones. So let's see, the sea of tits. I told you about the sea of tits that he wants to just dive into. I'm going to take these off. Let me read this. In this article, Bernie flatly lays out that if you don't allow your daughter to be promiscuous, then she will develop breast cancer. It means very bluntly that the manner in which you bring up your daughter with regard to sexual attitudes may very well determine whether or not she will develop breast cancer. Among other things, how much guilt, nervousness have you imbued in your daughter with regard to sex? If she is 16, 3 years beyond puberty, and at the time which nature set forth for childbearing, and spent a night out with her boyfriend, Bernie, what is your reaction? Do you take her to a psychiatrist because she is maladjusted or a prostitute? Or are you happy that she has found someone with whom she can share love? Are you concerned about her happiness? or about your reputation in the community. Very sick, but let's go on. I take it back. Bernie is one of the greatest literary poets of our day, and we should definitely enshrine him in the Oval Office. Entitled Man and Woman. A man goes home and masturbates. His typical fantasy: a woman on her knees, a woman tied up, a woman abused. Are these men's typical fantasies when they masturbate? A woman abused. Now, Me Too movement, or is that just for sexual things? But isn't there a crowd out there of women's shelters, places where battered women go and talk about group therapy? I've been to them. They used to exist, and they should be marching in the street. If a typical male fantasy, as penned by Bernie Sanders, a woman tied up, woman on her knees, a woman tied up, a woman abused. That right there, very, very, very disturbing. The other thing I read, that was extremely disturbing. And so is this. A woman enjoys intercourse with her man as she fantasizes being raped by 3 men simultaneously. Well, the man that she's with isn't doing a very good job. And if she has to fantasize other men, she's not having a good time. You focus on the person that you're with, whom you have great feelings for, might not be love yet, but you have great feelings, and you have great respect for them. And it's all about the experience with them. Otherwise, you're not into this guy. And I would say move on and find someone else. Not Bernie. Apparently, this is telling me that the women that Bernie dates fantasize about 3 men raping them because Bernie is inadequate. That's what this is. I'm just reading through, in between the lines psychologically. The man and woman get dressed up on Sunday and go to church, or maybe to their revolutionary political meeting. So they get up, instead of going to church, you go to your communist revolutionary meetings. Have you ever looked at the Stag Man Hero Tough magazine on the shelf of your local bookstore? Do you know why the newspapers with the articles like Girl 12 raped by 14 men sell so well? To what in us are they appealing? They are very appealing to the people who are rapists in the world, or pedophiles, pedophile rapists. That's what they're appealing to. The rest of the normal people who don't think like Bernie Sanders and the squad, apparently it's okay. But you want socialism by any means, and this is the guy that's going to... Apparently, the schools will be teaching a whole different curriculum for your children, because he also wrote, which I don't even want to speak it, because having the experiences that I did as a child, it really, really bothers me. Though in his scenario, it's just children doing it to other children, letting them run around naked and doing it, children doing it. That way they don't grow up sexually frustrated. This is Bernie's prescription. Bernie is not a doctor. If he were a doctor, he'd be like Kinsey. That's the kind of doctor he would be. And this is the man. Well, he could be president of California. California is going crazy over Bernie. They think he's just fantastic. All the normal people are moving out of California because the taxes are so high. And it's full of tent cities, feces, and needles, and 8 times more diseases than a third world country. So he can be president of California. California can be its own state. Just wall it off. He can be no more of our money. If they want money and they need money because the border's open and they need to give free health care and welfare and all that stuff, let them figure out a way. Maybe they'll find, the lost Dutchman mine, or up in the Yukon when they used to pan gold, the miners used to pan gold. And they can get their money that way to pay for everything they want. I'm sure there's still a vein of gold. Or go visit the Lemurians that live in Mount Shasta and have an internal sun, and they've lived for like 30,000 years, and they're big Nordics in white shiny robes and stuff. Go talk to them, because they could live inside of a mountain for all that time. They must have all the answers to what California's looking for. Believe it or not, in California, they believe that about Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta is an active volcano. By the way, it's still an active volcano. So how do these people live inside of an active volcano? You can't convince me, you New Age Reiki people. And I am a Reiki person, but I'm grounded. Drink a little water. Now, I didn't want to say that about the children, but you need to hear it. You need to know it. You need to pass it on. This guy could be your next president. He's as sick can be, yet the squad, which is all women and all Me Too, could care less about this. This is probably the more important point of it all. We can call Bernie crazy. He's a sick, perverted old man with these ideas of giving away all this free stuff. Personally, notice that his demographic is just all young people. I think psychologically, how he has, he's like one of those gurus who has a harem of women. Nobody liked him in school. He was very unattractive. Had sick ideas. Has had many women himself and fathered a child out of wedlock. So don't even throw a stone at Trump, please. This is just, come on, give me a break. I think personally, psychologically, that this is his way of getting, he still wants those young college girls, young teenage girls, wanting him, after him. He thinks to himself, if Bill can have young interns, then maybe I can too. If I'm the president and we change everything over to socialism, I can have anything I want, and the squad will stand next to me and they will protect me because they want socialism, communism by any means. So they'll let me do whatever I want because they want socialism. communism by any means, and he's the way to get there. We have discussed why this is not appealing. In Bernie's mind, why do these magazines that say little girl of 12 gang raped by 14 men, why are they so appealing? To you, Bernie, to you, you are a sick FK. Sick. Women, for their own preservation, are trying to pull themselves together, and it's necessary for all of humanity that they do so. Oh my God. Slavishness, on one hand, breeds pigness on the other hand. Pigness, on one hand, breeds slavishness on the other. Men and women, both are losers. He's a bad writer because I can't make sense of, I guess, women withholding their, not letting men rape them and have all these fantasies. That must be what he's talking about, and it makes the men and women losers. Women adapt themselves to fill the needs of men, and men adapt themselves to fill the needs of women. No, they don't. And women don't necessarily either. It depends on the man, it depends on the woman. Okay. In the beginning, there were strong men who killed the animals and brought home the food, and the dependent women who cooked it. No more. Only the roles remain, waiting to be shaken off. There are no human oppressors. Oppressors have lost their humanity. On one hand, slavishness, on the other hand, pigness. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Who wins? Maybe you can write in the description, in the comments, what you think he's saying. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to read between the lines, but I don't understand it. Many women seem to be walking on a tightrope now. Their qualities of love, openness, and gentleness were too deeply enmeshed with qualities of dependency. I think this is an insult to women. Subservience. And masochism. How do I love without being dependent? How do you be gentle without being subservient? You know, how do you do these things without being dependent and subservient? How do you maintain a relationship without giving up your identity? The man is bitter. You lied to me, he said. She did, in parentheses. Oh, he's blaming the woman. You said that you loved me, that you wanted me, that you needed me. Those are your words. In parentheses, they are. Always calling the woman out. But in reality, he said, if you ever loved me or wanted me or needed me, all of which I'm not certain was ever true, in parentheses, you also hated me. You hated me, just as you have hated every man in your entire life. But you didn't have the guts to tell me that. So he's assuming that this woman, who may not be that attracted to him, he's reading into her mind. And the reason why she's not attracted to him or things aren't going well is because she's hated every man in her entire life. She's a man-hater. Oh, Me Too movement, where are you? Oh God, this is unbelievable. But you didn't have the guts to tell me that. You hated me before you even saw me. You see, she hated him before she saw him. Really? No. She started hating you after she got to know you. That's what I say. Even though I was not your father or your teacher or your sex friend when you were 13 years old. Do people have sex friends at 13? Is that normal? Or your husband. Oh, she cheating on her husband with Bernie? Well, that's a step down, really far. They don't even build steps that go that far down into the earth. Oh my God. I mean, because of who I am. Or what I was to you. But because I am a man, you did not deal with me as a person, as me. You lived a lie with me, used me, and played games with me. And that's a piggy thing to do. Oh, geez, Bernie's really having a tough time. Do you think a woman would go after Bernie to use him? Especially in those days when he's not a multimillionaire with 3 homes and on his way to the presidency. What would you use him for, is my question. In ending, they no longer saw each other for the rest of their lives. Very sad. So he's got some real sick sexual issues, to say the least. So Bernie and the bread lines. Bernie thinks bread lines are good. Let's get to Marxism. Bernie thinks bread lines are good. That means when you see bread lines, that means the people are eating. But as I explained to you before, it is only the healthy that can stand and the young that can stand in these bread lines for hours. And the lines go around the corner. Because the state takes over everything. And they throw out the farmers, the owners, throw them out basically to die. State takes it over and they only make up so much of everything. There isn't enough to feed the whole country. They don't want to feed the whole country. They want a cull of population. And if you can't stand in that line for hours, or if you got there too late and you're at the end of the line, you will die. Because you're home and sick and elderly or disabled. So those people will just die off. That's bread lines. There are people working for Bernie that have come out full frontal that said we have to be like, it's like Bill Ayers, what he said, that's Barack Obama's friend. They said we have to send these people to re-education camps, but not all of them will change. And if they don't change, we must do what Fidel Castro does. He marches them to the shore and kills them by firing squad. People who work for Bernie are saying this as if this is the only way. This is the good thing. They're saying that Trump's people are the violent ones. This is incredible. But you see, you have to do it because this is the only way you can bring on communism. Now, Bernie, when these gentlemen came out in the press and said this, why didn't Bernie fire them? Why didn't Bernie come out and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is not the kind of Democrat socialist, that's what I am. No firing death. Why didn't he come out and say that? He didn't. And we know that the man that he went to shoot up the Republican softball team. And Steve Scalise was on his deathbed, he asked before he shot, "Are these the Republicans?" He was a Bernie supporter. And then there's the other one on the train, attacking the women with the hijabs. Bernie supporters are communist revolutionaries. He speaks in his article about going to these revolutionary meetings instead of church. Those are communist revolutionary meetings. He literally is a naked communist. He's a naked communist. That's why we saw him on film singing naked with all the other naked communists, all of them very unattractive, singing "This land is your land, this land is my land," while they were marching Jews off to the gulag, as well as people of other faiths and people who are counter-revolutionaries, which means you're against communism. That's evil, that's immoral, you must march them off. Bernie is always talking about he has these small donations, those small donors, but what they're doing is, and there's a massive amount of people that are doing this for Bernie to bring on communism. In fact, I'll get you, okay. At Dick Jackman 1 on Twitter. This guy digs up all this dirt. And basically, what people do is they break up their donations into very small parts. So they're giving a lot of donations, but smaller amounts and a lot of them. And some of them are going over the line, over $10,000. You're not supposed to donate more than $2,700. So he's lying about this. And in Burlington, Vermont, GE opened up a weapons plant. And you know how he supposedly was backing the whole Occupy Wall Street? Well, he went in front of the plant, and they make these guns that you put on the sides of helicopters that can shoot up whole villages. So Bernie bros, I assume, were out there protesting this plant. Bernie went there with his arms folded and said that you are anti-worker. You're against the worker. It's very communist, actually, you see. They always turn out to be pro-war, don't they? And if you don't go along with the state making all this stuff and the state wanting war, you're a counter-revolutionary. Socialism isn't about peace. The whole Soviet Union, the Cold War, they were ready to launch nuclear bombs at us. We were always, on our knees wondering, is today the day that they're going to blow up the world? Because if they hit the button, then we'll hit the button. And then that's it. That's the end of everything. So that's we having a button to counteract their button was the only thing that was keeping them from pushing that button. That's communism. And this is not going to be utopia. And it's going to be impossible to pay for what the Green New Deal, $93 trillion, destroying everything in this country. We're going to dig up central Mexico on down, all the way down to Chile. And you're going to make those all landfills, destroy everything that's built, because you got to redo it so it's good for the climate, right? And bury it. And Senator Warren, she's a big fat hypocrite. She flies in private jets, but so does Bernie. Bernie flies in private jets, and he flies in first class. But you see, the dictator can do whatever the dictator wants to do. You see, that's the thing. There's the dictator at the top, and the squad will be at the top, and all their crazy, vile ideas, and their hatred, and their ignorance. And they will change the law. Ocasio-Cortez will be the next president. Bernie might not be able to make it through the 4 years. And we will be having the squad running things. But they don't care what Bernie said or did when he was younger, or what he's thinking now. Apparently, he knows exactly what women think. We hate the men that we're with, and we fantasize about other men. Maybe that was personal to Bernie's situation, but it's not everybody's situation. People have to wake up. Socialism is at our door. Even Buttigieg, his father was a Marxist, you know. He wrote his school paper on Bernie Sanders and how great he was. He's not a moderate. He wants to pay retributions to people who are stopped at the border or coming in here illegally. After they're here, they can get all the free stuff and work under the table. This is absolutely insane. He dropped out, but he's hoping to be somebody's VP. He's hoping to get some position, and possibly, apparently Obama called Buttigieg, I don't know, and Klobuchar, and told them to drop out because they want, well, maybe they do want, they think, the idea is maybe they want Biden, because Klobuchar said that she'll back Biden. But maybe it is Bloomberg they want. Bloomberg, who paid everyone off in the 2018 elections, the Democrats, $100 million, which is way above and beyond the donation. You've exceeded the amount of donations that you can make. $100 million. And the other thing is that, and nobody's willing to mention this, why we lost the Congress. There were 51 Republican congressmen that retired. It's not just Bloomberg's money. They say they up and retired because they believed all these stories about Trump. Well, the stories with the Russia collusion, that was absurd. That was absolutely absurd. I never believed that. And then it dawned on me. Why 51 retired. When you threaten violence, you can get people to do a lot of things. Remember the softball game? Are those all the Republicans there? Those are all Republicans? And I found in his car, he was a Bernie bro, and that he was there to eliminate the Republican Congress. Now, don't you think that was the main motivator for them to retire? And it's easier for an incumbent to get elected again. That's the reason why they retired, not because they believed in the Russia hoax. They knew it was a hoax. Staying in office, if Trump's taken out of office, it doesn't mean that the Congress people who are Republicans are going to be blamed for Trump. Most of them didn't even support Trump. They left because of violence, and the violence was initiated by a Bernie supporter. Now, I don't want to blame Bernie, but God knows he has enough on his plate that he has to answer to. But he never fired that worker that came out very recently about the firing squads. But it is communism. That's Soviet Russia. Couple more things things about Bernie Sanders. I want to slip in here really quickly. The wife he's married to now, her name is Jane. She had just put college in Burlington, Vermont into bankruptcy because of her spending. But he met her when he was mayor of Burlington, and he made up an entirely new department called the Mayor's Youth Office. And he gave her the job. She'd be in charge of that. So he invented a job that the taxpayers had to pay for. It's about $400,000 a year. After they got married, she got a big fat raise, about $700,000 a year. And he did the same thing for a good friend of his as well. Exact same scenario. Made up a brand new department and made him the head of it. Good night, everyone. And be careful who you vote for tomorrow. None of them are really good. On the Democrat ballot, we're rest assured we got somebody good on the Republican ballot. And it's not the alcoholic. Good night.